Did you know that your taxpayer dollars may be going to our enemy, the Taliban? Joining us now to talk about that, Kerry Patton, who's co-founder of the National Security Leadership Foundation. How's that possible?
Well, this is a quantitative war. And what happens is when we fund through contract vehicles local projects to take place among the locals, they oftentimes take that money and subcontract it out to their fellow locals, local Afghans. We cannot control where that money goes once the prime or sub obtains that initial contract. They multiply that contract by 4 times. Now it turns out that we devalue the contract itself and we have no control over where that money goes. That money now, we found just this week through a Senate report, is going into the hands of the insurgents, i.e. the Taliban.
And that was in a U.S. Senate report?
Correct.
How come nobody's really screaming about this?
This is nothing new, though, and this is what's alarming. We've known about this funding the Taliban for years now, and just take since 9/11. We've known since about 2004, 2005, we've initiated certain projects where some money has went into the bad guys' hands. So, but what's alarming is nobody in the media is picking up on this until recently, and a lot of that's because President Obama has done so many different things that are extraordinary in his administration that it gets overlooked. You know, we look at Fast and Furious. How many people are still reporting about Fast and Furious?
Sure.
The debt's taken over everything.
You know, for years now we have given military, humanitarian, and intelligence aid to the government of Pakistan. A lot of that goes to their intelligence service known as the ISI, which has many rogue elements sympathetic to the Taliban and indeed al-Qaeda. So the money we've been giving the ISI is also finding its way to the enemy.
Absolutely. I mean, but that's been going on since the 80s with the Russian-Afghan war. Saudi Arabia assisted the United States, and in turn we give it to Pakistan. And the ISI, who we assumed for a long time was our ally, turns out there are definitely elements within that are not our ally at all.
What's the solution to this?
You know, let's cut the funds in Pakistan completely.
Entirely? All of them? Don't give any money to Pakistan?
Absolutely not. Until they man up, if you will, and do what we ask them to do,
right,
then why should we assist them?
Bob, what do you think of that?
Nation building should stop in Afghanistan.
Well, nation building should have never started in Afghanistan.
Agreed.
Because you can't build a nation out of a bunch of random tribes that have been at each other's throats for thousands of years.
And who don't want a nation to be built.
And they don't want. I mean, it was so naive of us, frankly, to go in with that as an objective. I mean, killing the Taliban leaders—that's a reasonable objective. Building a state where one has never existed before and a culture which is inhospitable to that was fundamentally naive and silly. So I agree on that point. I'm not so sure about the real politic of cutting off all the funds to Pakistan, though,
Jeannie,
under the circumstances.
what do you think?
You know, I think cutting off the funds, I think, may be a bit dramatic, actually. You know, I think we do need to have a presence in Pakistan, and I think the problem is something that you alluded to, is that we need an administration that says, what are our goals? This never should have started in Afghanistan. We do need to have a relationship with Pakistan. I think you can't cut off the funding, in part because we need a relationship with them, so we have a presence in that part of the world. And I think the question for the administration going forward is, what are our goals there? So, you know, I'm not so sure it's a matter of cutting off funding completely right now, but saying what we're funding and why. What are our goals? And
Kerry?
we haven't heard that.
What do we need a relationship with Pakistan for? I mean, and the reality
to make
is,
sure that they don't assist the Taliban and al-Qaeda even more than they already are.
It's a done deal. It's going to happen. It's been taking place. The people we need to pay focus to right now and really assist is India. India is one of the greatest allies to Afghanistan historically. India is also not very friendly with Pakistan. If we start utilizing India to a greater capacity in that region of Central Asia, we could move a little bit better in our strategic objectives. And you're absolutely right. Nation building was never our objective. And if anybody looks in 2001 reports, when we implemented this war, well, they did, of course, but it was not part of it. So why we're doing it now makes no sense. However, what does make sense is quantitatively, this is how people get promoted in the military. It's how people in the State Department get moved up in the echelons. It's quantitative analysis. We love statistics.